If you are a beginner at yoga and you are wondering, how do I actually start doing yoga? Where do I start? Who do I practice it with? Where do I do it? How often? Or maybe you started it and you're wondering if you're doing everything right, and how do you get the most benefits out of this practice? How to just establish this practice? How do you get addicted to yoga? If this is you, then this video is for you, because today we're going to be answering those questions. How do you practice it? How often? Where? Who with? And this is going to be mostly from my experience and how I personally got addicted to yoga and what I think is going to be helpful. And even if you are very experienced, I think you still can find this video helpful, because it's important to re-inspire yourself to remember what is important. And I'm sure in this video there's going to be something for everyone. So without further ado, let's get into it. Quick disclaimer. In this video, I'm going to be sharing how to start yoga in terms of movement, how to establish that physical practice, but it is so much more than the physical practice. And if something physical practice is just one little tiny part of yoga that we can enter this beautiful practice through. In this video, I'm coming from the perspective of movement. We can definitely in the future explore other ways to enter yoga, but today we are just discussing the movement part of it, the physical practice. So the first point, I just want to get the material things out of the way. You don't really need any fancy equipment. If you think you can't do yoga because you don't have something in your equipment kit, this is unfortunately just an excuse, and you definitely don't need that new yoga outfit to start doing yoga. When I first started, it was in quarantine. I did not own a yoga mat, and I did yoga on a little thin mattress that was way too soft to be doing yoga on, but somehow I did yoga on it throughout my first couple of months, which is so shocking to me now, because how did I even balance on that? You don't really need much. Obviously, yoga mat is great, and especially if you've never practiced yoga, props would be great, but you don't have to like get out of your way to spend money on like bougie fancy props. Just maybe borrow from a friend. Lots of people own yoga props. Maybe get some on second-hand website. Get it off someone. People are always resell their things, or just use books for now in your belt as a prop. The more you practice, the more you will understand what you actually enjoy in terms of mat, in terms of props. So don't spend a lot of money on your first yoga equipment, your body, and your attitude. This is all you need. So the next big question is, how do you find your teacher? There's so much out there, yet we know so little, and it's very confusing decision to make. And the answer is not really just one where this is the person you go to. Just gonna share my personal experience, how I started. I started in the lockdown, and my way of doing yoga was just doing yoga videos on YouTube off of one YouTube channel, just consistently. For the first 3-4 months, I was just doing that one yoga YouTube channel, which is Bohu Beautiful, and I just made myself a goal to go over as many videos as possible, and at some point I was just repeating the same videos that I enjoyed the most and just wanted to see how fast I can progress doing the same videos. This is personally how I started. I found that one channel that introduced me yoga in a gentle way, and I didn't need to go to other places to just constantly try out things, because I feel like that's very confusing in the beginning. I just stuck to that one channel, one teacher, which I felt comfortable with. I felt like understands the beginner's flows, understands how to cue everything well, and I just kept doing it without even looking anywhere else. And this is what I want to accentuate, is that it's really helpful to just find that one source at first, just because if you constantly tap into different things so early in the beginning of your yoga journey, it could be a little bit confusing, a little bit not consistent enough for you to get introduced to yoga, to get familiar with yoga. So I suggest you find that one teacher. It could be YouTube videos, it could be one YouTube channel, which I personally preferred, and it could be a yoga studio teacher. You try out their class once or twice, you see if you like them, book consistent classes with them. You could book a live classes sessions where you have a teacher online and you do classes with them, or you could buy a yoga program. I have a video on the teachers on YouTube specifically that I would really recommend, the channels specifically, and most of them have their own programs, have paid platforms where the flows are a bit more consistent. But honestly, you don't even need to invest money into it at first. I didn't. YouTube has been such a great resource. I love how much you can learn there, and how consistent of a practice you can build just with this very accessible platform. And I think it's really easy to overthink that, because Is this teacher really right enough? Like, no one is really perfect for you. Just choose something and stick to it at first. And side note, it's okay to switch teachers if you really like found throughout the process that this is really not for you, the specific person. It's okay to switch teachers. Trying out teachers really shows you what you enjoy. So don't get married to that one teacher. Trying everything out with time shows you what you really enjoy. The next point that I want to accentuate is the fact that if you are determined to invite this habit, this practice into your life and really see if this is something that could affect you in a positive way, to really see if it makes a difference, to really see if this is something that enriches your life, you will need to make sacrifices. And it's nothing dramatic. You don't have to abandon your family and go to the mountains and practice with monks. No, that's not necessary. Just maybe you'll have to give up some screen time on your phone, and instead of scrolling, commit to that 15-20 minute flow. Or maybe you'll have to get up earlier if the mornings are the only time you kind of have energy and time for the practice. You will need to think where you are going to make sacrifice to make space for this new practice. I feel like sometimes we get a little bit delusional how many things we can do in a day. Don't be alarmed if practicing yoga will not just require practicing it consistently, but also sacrificing something. This is absolutely normal. For me personally, it would probably be screen time. I could easily scroll and be online, or I could take that time and invest it into the practice. So yeah, it's just something to be aware of. And the next point that is honestly the base of being a person who does yoga, the base of starting yoga. Of course, consistency. Consistency is the strongest muscle. You need to decide that this is something you are going to be doing if you want to see results, if you want to see if this benefits you. It really helps to write down why do you even want to practice yoga in the first place. And even if it's some sort of very shallow reasoning, write out your goals, your reasons, what you're curious about in this practice. What really got me addicted to yoga and really helped me to stick to it is making a calendar. I suggest you choose the amount of days you commit to this practice. Is it 30? Is it a week? Is it 50 like I did? I did 50 days. And this has been so helpful because every day I just had to cross it off, and you have this kind of goal of not like doing it for a year, which could be really overwhelming, or like 3 months where you could lose the sight of your goal. It's this kind of like sort of manageable, comprehensible time period where you decide that this is what you're going to be doing. Make a calendar and decide the amount of days you're committing to this practice. Oh my god, there's that bee. I strongly suggest you try to do it every day, because this is really what gets you hooked and really shows you the difference that yoga makes in your day-to-day life compared to not doing it. And doing it consistently every day, this is the most powerful way to see and to feel cultivation of that practice in your body. But no problem if you can't commit to yoga every day. This is overwhelming for a lot of people. Just commit to whatever amount of days in the week you want to do that yoga practice and commit to it. And those are sacred days where you do it. Just make it sustainable for you. Personally, for me, it was very easy to give up the practice if I don't do it every day, because there's always tomorrow sort of attitude, and like today I can skip. I have like 3 days or 4 days a week that I'm practicing. Today I can do one of those days that I don't, and it's just really easy to put that off. For me, it was really helpful to do it every day because I feel like there's just no excuses not to, and makes the effect more powerful. It's a muscle that we are making stronger by saying yes to the practice every time, every day. You need to say yes to the practice to make that neural connection stronger, to make that muscle in your brain stronger. And the stronger it is, the easier it gets. This is the most important muscle that we are working on, because the rest will come. You will get strong, you will get flexible, you will get toned, and so much more. But with everyday decision, you are making that push-up in your brain to do that practice, which is honestly the most important thing, especially in the beginning, to just say yes to the practice and actually do the action of it, to help yourself to not be vulnerable to skipping. You need to make yourself a plan. It could be a program, it could be the same teacher that you go to, or in my case personally, I would just save videos that I want to do and I would have them pre-planned for the time that I'm doing yoga. If it's time to do my practice and I don't have a plan, it's so much easier to make excuses, so much easier to not do it, and so much harder to come to the mat if there's no plan, if the past me didn't do any sort of effort to give myself that program. So make yourself a plan, make maybe a program for a week or for the next few days of the videos that excite you, or the teacher will do it for you if you stick to one teacher that you're doing live classes with, or you buy a program which already has everything pre-planned for you. The next point that contributes to the consistency factor is whatever means necessary. Whatever gets you there, whatever checks off that point of doing it consistently. If it's 5 minutes before bedtime, there's YouTube videos for that too. This is more than nothing. This is much more than nothing. We are working on building that consistency, on building that habit. This is how you see results, through consistency. And this is how you start yoga. You commit to it. For me personally, the only way it was sustainable and kind of was motivating and fun is to do shorter flows. I think for the first few months I was just doing 20-minute flows, and this was so fun. This was not very time consuming. Like I said, I just had to give up some screen time. Don't put yourself in that box that you need to do an hour and 2-hour classes. This is something that is very constricting, and I personally believe that it's way better to start with something that is much more sustainable for you to start with and is not overwhelming. The rest will come. The next point is something that is important to remember, especially when you're starting, that life happens. Sometimes you just can't, you just don't do yoga, you didn't put enough time, you can lose all motivation to continue doing it because that one thing happened and you skipped one day or you skipped that week. I don't know, that sounds scary to me, but life happens. That's okay. Perfectionism is not your friend there. Consistency is your friend. Get back up, get back to it, and continue where you stopped. This is the most important part. It's okay if you skip, it's okay if you fall out. This is okay, this is the journey. It doesn't have to be smooth and consistently growing. This is absolutely not that. It's constantly changing. It is thriving at one point and then it's sort of dead looking, but it's still there. So continue investing your time into this habit and don't go hard on yourself if you skip and something happens, whatever. Just get back up and continue from where you stopped. This is normal, and there's no place for all or nothing sort of mindset, just in case you needed to hear that. Next point is repetition. This is one of the things that really helped me to sort of get addicted to this practice. In the beginning, I remember I did a few flows that were way harder for me to do, and I couldn't do like half of things that were in this flow, and that piqued my interest because I love a good challenge. And what was really helpful to get addicted to yoga, to see the results, is to do those few flows on a repeat, to constantly do them, because I know what's coming and I constantly work for it and I observe how my body reacts to the same flow on different days, and slowly I also see progress and how I could do that same flow way better than I could a month ago. And this is honestly so rewarding. It showed me how fun it is to build strength, how fun it is to get accustomed to those flows. Showed me sort of that dramatic before and after. Even though it wasn't that dramatic, I just felt that it could be really dramatic because I'm just doing that one flow over and over again, and I already see results, and it's only been like a couple of weeks. So repetition is something that was really helpful if you are doing yoga with YouTube, for example. Finding flows that specifically challenge you and you find fun is a really great idea, to keep them on repeat, to keep observing your body in those flows. It gives you a lot of insight, and I personally really enjoy that in the beginning, and I still do that. The next thing is, I think it has to be mentioned, is to listen to your body. Yoga is definitely a place where your ego gets challenged, where you could start feeling really good about yourself if you're like good at something, or really bad about yourself if you can't do something. And this is something that yoga will start confronting. Don't be alarmed if you feel specifically really bad about yourself, or specifically I don't know, maybe self-conscious because, you know, there's lots of yogis that just look awesome doing things, and for you it looks like it's impossible. Yeah, it's okay. It will happen. This is normal. Remember to make your practice yours. This is that work with that ego of like needing to look certain way, needing to be good. Listen to your body. Don't push yourself into anything you are not comfortable with yet. just slowly and surely. What I really like, for example, about Boho Beautiful, that they always give modifications. There's always an option for you to start somewhere and progress into a full expression of the pose. And it doesn't mean that you're worse than other people. It doesn't mean that you are not worthy of admiration from yourself. It's just the body that you're working with, and this is the most funnest experience you could have, to work with your body, to teach it, to see it go through that process of getting accustomed to the movement. Have fun with it, and don't judge yourself too hard, and keep it comfortable, keep it challenging but safe. So what is also a really helpful thing, I think, especially in the beginning, is to start normalizing yoga. Start normalizing yoga as a practice, start normalizing yoga as a lifestyle, because essentially that's what we want to do if we want to do yoga. This is just, that becomes a part of your lifestyle. And what is really helpful for me personally, especially in the beginning, is to watch videos about yoga, to watch how other people practice it, to, maybe you can explore more videos on my channel, because I post a lot of things about yoga and how I implement it into my lifestyle. Or maybe you can find other YouTubers that post about yoga. I know a lot of people love watching those one year yoga videos, everyday yoga videos for a year. Just rewatching them, especially when you feel demotivated, is fun, and it adds to your inspiration. You're not gonna feel motivated every day, trust me, and this is okay. You don't have to. This is where that muscle of the consistency comes in and drags you onto the mat. But sometimes it's fun to feel inspired. So if you're looking for additional sources of inspiration, it's a fun way to just keep that yoga practice in your mind even when you're not doing it. I think this is also kind of the goal, to start bringing it outside of your mat. And watching content about it is something that personally really inspires me, and I think it's a great way to start normalizing that idea of practice in your day-to-day life, through other people, through what content you watch. One of the points that I just kind of want to end with is that when you start doing something every day, especially like something like yoga, there's so many stereotypes about it, whatever. When you just start doing it, especially with the consistency that I'm kind of trying to promote, like every day sort of lifestyle, you will start sort of get challenged, not just by your body, by your mind, but also by people around you, by your surroundings. We don't all have the luxury of having our own space and have that divine space for yoga. Sometimes we have to do it around people. Sometimes people will walk in on you. There might be some misunderstanding from people around you, and this is a challenge. Trust me, I know from personal experience that it's really hard to do it every day already, but also to constantly get challenged by people around you to, like, why are you doing this, and just feel weird and kind of like silly to invest your time into it, especially if people around you don't really do that kind of stuff. So just be prepared for being challenged by other people and sort of being questioned. And it's not a reason to get defensive, it's not a reason to prove anything to anyone, it's just a reason for you to use this as an opportunity to, do your thing despite anything, to keep pushing you to do a thing that you think is right for you, that is beneficial for you right now, and being okay with maybe not being fully understood or accepted, and maybe looking silly when someone walks onto you in a room and you're doing a happy baby pose. That's okay. Like I said, I started in quarantine, I lived with a lot of people, and I had to do it every day, and it is something that everyone got used to eventually, but definitely something that I was really embarrassed at first about, and then later, when I continued with that practice more seriously and more consistently, I felt much more sort of questioning from people around me, close people around me, like, why do you do that? It makes you worse, it makes you close-minded, it makes you like stay at home and like sacrifice those things that you used to like to do that yoga practice. Is that really good for you? Anyway, people have certain perception of you, and you just suddenly just start doing yoga every day, and people around you are kind of judgmental towards yogis. Trust me, I get that. It's fine. This is, like I said, an opportunity to just do you, no matter what. If this is something that you feel like is good for you, you don't owe explanation to anyone or like make them understand. You don't have to make them understand. You can explain yourself, but like you don't have to make anyone understand. Just maybe communicate with your roommates or whoever you live with that this is something that I'm going to be doing at that hour. Are you okay with that? Am I going to be on your way? And just try to kind of give yourself that time, that space, establish that the fact that you're going to be practicing and taking up space at certain time, that's fine. So yeah, this is my take on how to start yoga. I hope this was helpful. Just go to your mat and do some yoga. I'm going to do this right now because I got myself pumped. So to this day, I am still enjoying this practice every day, and I really wish that kind of feeling for everyone. I hope this video helps you to establish your practice. Let me know what you think in the comments, how long you're practicing, if you're going to start practicing. I'm really curious. We can talk down there, and if you have any tips for people who are starting off yoga, yeah, let's talk in the comments. I'm excited to hear your thoughts and hear about your progress, your practice. And thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you soon.